all year. He had 20 points in 9.5 minutes to start the tournament. 24 at 11 minutes. And then instead of going for 50 and perhaps losing the game, he settled down and got just 37, but he set up his teammates.
That's the difference for UT Arlington now and earlier in the year. It seemed as if Eric Neal and Kevin Hervey were competing for the spotlight. Now they're playing together for a championship.
And they've got some help. And we'll talk about the other Mavericks as well as Georgia State throughout the game. But Kalen Wilson rescued the Mavs yesterday with some big plays down the stretch. But you will be entertained by this game. Here's the UTA starters. And again, Hervey will not start really by his own choosing. He'd rather come off the bench now, as you mentioned. Hamilton, the big inside, the Virginia Tech transfer.
And watch the stingy Georgia State zone. Ron Hunter known for that. They communicate well. They rotate well. They get turnovers out of the zone.
And here's a look at the Panthers starting five. Again, an experienced group. And Mitchell, one of the best three-point shooters in the country. And Georgia State starts the game with the first points.
Now there's DeMarcus Simon, so dangerous offensively, over 21 points a game, more than R.J. Hunter. And he rebounds it well, and he assists it well. He's a complete basketball player for Ron Hunter.
He's fought some foul trouble in the tournament. In fact, yesterday was his first game in 49 games without a double-figure performance.
You know, Mitch, what I like best about Georgia State, they know who their best player is. DeMarcus Simon's number 15. They give him a lot of opportunity to play.
Simon's just 28% from three, but he can be sneaky out there. Again, he's exploded. He had 39 points in a game this year. And here's what I'm asking about, Mark. Their zone, they play exclusively zone. They're like Baylor, but they've been really good in the first two games of this tournament in this zone.
Mitch, what I'm going to be looking for is penetrating passes and penetration off the dribble. And so far, UT Arlington has gotten none of that. Here it goes. That's what I want to see right there. Get into gaps, make plays, look for open teammates.
Scott Cross calls Kalen Wilson the unsung hero. He had 4 gigantic offensive rebounds, or they wouldn't have been in this game. They would have lost in the semis.
2 of them in the last 2 minutes of the game that sealed the victory in that case for UT Arlington against a really, really good Louisiana basketball team.
Simon's feeling it, but a nice stick back as Jordan Session gets the tip in. He did not miss a shot in the semis. He was 7 of 7.
Watch Jordan Session. Nobody lays a body on him. Number 23 in white just goes right up. I mean, UT Arlington, they've got to be physical in this game to keep the athletes off the offensive glass for Georgia State. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kevin Hervey in real fast right now, because those are plays he can finish with that penetrating pass down the low block.
And Harris is the guy that plays, or at least starts for Hervey in that 3 spot for UTA. Mitchell again. Just look out if he hits some early. And 10 makes from 3 in a game at Little Rock. The second best performance from three-point range this year by an NCAA player.
Watch for Eric Neal, number 5, Wilson, Kalen Wilson, to get into gaps. That's exactly what they need to do, and Wilson's good enough to do it.
And Hamilton able to wrestle it up and in. Again, the Virginia Tech transfer. And this is what UTA did not have a year ago, a 7-foot graduate transfer.
Runs like a gazelle, a graduate transfer, as you mentioned, but started playing when he was 16 years old. A blossoming big man for the Mavs of UT Arlington.
Simons goes right at Hamilton. It'll be a foul on the Mavericks.
No, there you see Simons. That's why I called him the Sun Belt's Russell Westbrook. He lowers, look how low he gets right there. Lowers that left shoulder, which gives him leverage to get to the rim. He's a really good player for a sophomore. Obviously a long ways from the NBA and Russell Westbrook, but for Sun Belt purposes, he reminds me of him as far as how he develops his shot-making ability.
Yeah, I love the analogy because of his strength. The Sun Belt Player of the Year. And now Hervey comes into the game, and keep an eye on him. Probably the top NBA prospect in the Sun Belt. Going back to Simons last year, he was Freshman of the Year in this league. And a great get for Ron Hunter to get him to Georgia State. Boy, 7 early for Simons. Remember, he struggled in the first 2 games of the tournament. Hamilton.
Hamilton should have a big game. He's an X-factor guy against that zone. Georgia State sometimes doesn't lay bodies on guys. We've seen it early from Hamilton going and getting the offensive glass work.
Number 3 in the league in offensive rebounds.
Georgia State, a real donut team. They don't play with their back to the basket. They move the ball. They space the ball. They rely on Simons to make plays, and everyone feeds off of him.
And here comes Neal leading the charge.
Watch Hervey, number 25. He's roaming the baseline. Turnover. He telegraphed that pass.
And maybe the unsung hero of Georgia State, Malik Benlevi with the steal. The best defender, Ron Hunter called him. He says he makes every defensive call for us.
He communicates better than most guys I've seen all season long defensively in that zone. He's constantly chatting up his teammates.
And Session over the back of Hamilton.
Welcome to the Fun Belt. Georgia State up 3 early against a talented UT Arlington bunch. Hang with us.
A second chance. Scott Cross's team thought he would be here a year ago. They got ambushed in the semifinals. And remember, they were the September and October talk of the Sun Belt. They have beaten Ohio State, Memphis.
Physical. They can guard you. They take the bump and score. I mean, that is a physically and tough-minded basketball team. 27 victories. I think they're an NCAA tournament team, and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, they ought to be proud of what they accomplished with the regular season title. Really good team that Bob Marlin's put together in Lafayette.
And Mark, at the very least, they'll be an NIT team, and I hope they get a decent seed in the NIT if that's where they go. Because you know what? That's a team that could get to New York City.
No question. That could be a number 1 or 2 seed. But you know what? With the NCAA selection committee, they've already chosen the 68 teams pending the outcome of the Atlantic 10 championship today. If Davidson wins, that knocks the last team out. That could be a Louisiana. That could be a Middle Tennessee. That could be an Arizona State. That could be a St. Mary's. Who knows?
Good look and a knockdown by Jordan Session. He and DeMarcus Simons have all of the Georgia State points to start this game. And again, if you want to remember Georgia State, what they did 3 years ago, R.J. Hunter, the coach's son, really similar to, everybody talks about the Valpo shot of Bryce Drew. That shot he made against Baylor, unforgettable for Georgia State, and a drive by Wilson.
Now Wilson, really good offensive rebounder for his size, got great attitude. He brings the energy to this basketball team. He's a good yin and yang guy with Eric Neal.
UTA starting to figure out the zone. They started 1 of 5 against Georgia State zone, now 4 of 5.
And why mix? Because they're attacking the rim. There's Hamilton from the backside.
Hamilton, but they cannot convert. And Ben Levy again always lurking around Mark and gets 2 points that Georgia State thought they were not going to get.
Now, he's that X-factor team guy for Georgia State. Number 2, Malik Benlevy. Guess who's going after that rebound? Kalen Wilson.
An outstanding offensive rebounder. 5th in the league. 165 offensive rebounds, and Markey 6'2", 165 career coming in, 41 this year. I mean, he'll chase a miss like no other in this tournament.
Keep an eye on Isaiah Williams, number 11 on the right-hand wing as Simons takes it down low. He's a guy that contributed big time in the semifinals yesterday.
And he saved the day for them, really. I mean, Georgia Southern had cut an 18-point Georgia State lead to 5. And Simons had fouled out, and Isaiah Williams made the plays down the stretch.
Yeah, he hit a couple big 3 balls to stretch the game to 6 and then ultimately to 9 and saved the bacon for Georgia State. Can't believe I said save the bacon.
That one barely.
Yeah, I don't even eat bacon.
It's okay if you just utilize it in your diet a little bit. That thing barely flicks rim for Ben Levy.
So take a look at the spacing offensively, and Ben Levy just wants the basketball and lets it go from deep right there. You know, Ron Hunter gives his team a lot of offensive freedom, but he expects them to play defense his way. They're really active in the zone. Look at the active hands, active feet on the ball.
I love this zone for Georgia State. A lot of coaches don't want to play zone. They apologize for playing zone, and these guys use it as a weapon. They're number 10 in the country, Mark, in field goal percentage defense, Georgia State.
It usually works out pretty well for Syracuse, if memory serves.
And when Baylor does it right, yep, they're pretty good in it. Now a shot clock violation as Georgia State plays defense.
You know, Mitch, you bring up a great point as Scott Cross now has to go after that zone and attack that zone. You know, these teams that play zone a lot, they differentiate themselves in the marketplace. They're different than other teams and therefore a little bit harder to prepare for because you don't see zone as much in college basketball anymore.
It's like Army football playing the triple option.
Exactly right. A little bit different. That can give you an edge.
Williams with the floater. Pretty good look. Session has been a horse on the boards early for Georgia State.
Malik Benlevy just brings it home hard. He is a dude I thought was Spider-Man. Elfrid Payton. He was unbelievable as Louisiana knocked off Georgia State and R.J. Hunter by 1 in overtime in that game. Then came back the next year, Mitch, in 2015. Of course, remember Kevin Ware, who was the MVP of that tournament, but R.J. Hunter, and what a tournament he had, and then subsequent NCAA tournament. Those guys both drafted into the NBA.
Here's Jordan Session.
This team produces, this conference produces pros.
The other thing they've been able to do is win NCAA games. 2 of the last 3 years, the Sun Belt champ or the Sun Belt representative, the champion of this tournament, has been able to win in the NCAA tournament.
Of course, we had R.J. Hunter with the win over Baylor when his dad Ron fell off the stool because he had blown out his Achilles tendon right in front of me in the championship game, which we'll get into that story in a little bit. And of course, Little Rock with Chris Beard and that bunch, they beat Purdue in the NCAA tournament. They went over 30 games that season. This conference has produced some really exciting basketball players and exciting teams. Louisiana was off the charts this year. I loved watching them play.
Yeah, they're deep. They go about 9 deep with tons of talent. Hervey gets fouled on the 3. And this is on DeMarcus Simons, and this has been the only cavity in his game, and it's been accentuated in this tournament, Mark, is Simons has fought foul trouble in this tournament. He fouled out of yesterday's game.
And he's such an important player. You can't afford to get fouls out at the 3-point line. And listen, Kevin Hervey, tall enough to see over you anyway.
Hervey's 9 of 9 in the tournament at the line. He had 2 big ones to seal the semifinal victory yesterday. Hey, tonight at 7 Eastern, it's bracketology, the basically Christmas for college basketball fans today. Bracketology, Reese, Jay, Will, go right down the line. Bill, Seth, Dickie V, our host of college hoop experts, all night long. Complete breakdowns of each region after the fields are announced. Sports Center starts it off at 5 Eastern on ESPN, and then the reveal of the NCAA men's field of 68 as the teams are announced. Both are streaming live on the ESPN app.
It's going to be so interesting, Mitch, to see what happens with Middle Tennessee State. Bruce Rasmussen, the chair of the selection committee, the AD at Creighton, who we know well.
Yep.
He had a quote last night, said, how did you do away from your home, whether it's neutral or road? How did you do against teams that are in the tournament? Middle Tennessee was 12-1 on the road this year. 12-1. Now, did they beat teams in the tournament? That's where there's some warts there. They knocked off Western Kentucky. They beat Murray State. They lost to Auburn by 6, Miami by 3, USC by 5. But that's another team, because everybody's got warts. But they're 12-1 on the road. They did exactly what the committee asked them to do.
And one of the most intriguing decisions will be the discussion about Oklahoma, because if the road neutral metric that you're talking about, they did not win a road game. They haven't won one yet in the calendar year of 2018, the Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, they're 2-9. One of those road wins was at Wichita State. We know how hard that can be.
In December.
But they lost 8 out of their last 10, and they were 4-11 over the last 15 games. I think Trae Young's a heck of a player. But does that brand name get them into the NCAA tournament because he's such a tremendous talent?
The other interesting discussion, if OU gets in and Oklahoma State does not.
Oh, Mike Boynton, what a job he did this year. Holy Toledo.
They sweep Kansas. The only time Bill Self has been swept since he's been the head coach of Kansas by a Big 12 school.
I saw Oklahoma State in December. I thought they had no shot. I thought they'd be a bottom 2 team at best in the Big 12.
They ended up in the bottom 2. They're still in the bottom 2, but the point is, what a great job he did.
And they just kept getting better. They just kept getting better. By the end of the season, they were a top half team in the Big 12.
You know, the other guy on that committee that's interesting that relates to this game is Craig Thompson. Craig was the commissioner of the Sun Belt down the Mountain West, but he's sitting in that room too. And we're going to say hi to all the committee. You know they're watching us, because this is one of the last lines to be drawn on here.
Tom Burnett, one of my favorite guys out of the Southland, also sitting there right now.
Jim Schaus,
yep,
also in that room. Devin Mitchell hits the 3, and if he gets hot, he had 7 against the Mavericks in Arlington from 3.
We might be 2 of the only guys that aren't yelling at the selection committee today. I respect what they do. It's a difficult job.
And not only the selection, but the seedings the last couple of years have drawn. And there's Neal now trying to create. He has been held in check for just 2 here early, but is not forcing things. He'll go to the line.
I like what UT Arlington's doing, where they're getting into penetration gaps. They're getting that ball to the 13, 15-foot area, and then either looking for a shot where the defenders are looking at the ball, then they get offensive rebound opportunities. Really good job of picking and choosing when you attack the zone right there by Eric Neal.
Fun kid. Enjoy watching Eric Neal play. In a senior at a Dallas Lincoln High School. They're in the Metroplex. Last year he was top 5 in the nation in assists. This year he's top 8 in assists. He can explode offensively. We mentioned it, 37 in the quarterfinals in a game. His brother played football at the University of Kansas.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to get his brother too to play basketball, and he decided to play football at the last minute.
If only both of them would have played basketball. We're not going to talk about Kansas football. We'll talk about Kansas basketball.
I'll take Eric Neal, though, anytime on my team.
No question. I mean, everybody talks about Kevin Hervey, and for good reason. He's got that NBA body. He's got the high skill level. You know what? I wouldn't put it past Eric Neal to find a way to make some NBA roster somewhere along the line in his career.
Hervey, a little extra pass out, but Wilson not able to connect on the 3, and he's good from out there at 45%.
Attack it before it gets set. Eric Neal probes it.
But what about Georgia State's transition defense thus far to hold just 15 points for the Mavs? I mean, they've been staying in front of Neal defensively.
And that's exactly what Ron Hunter to do. He wanted to neutralize Eric Neal, Kevin Hervey, make them play east and west and not allow them to go north and south, and so far advantage to Georgia State.
DJ Bryant will get this whistle.
Good job working to get over the screen. Wow, that's tight. That's tight.
But you better stay in the presence of Mitchell coming off that screen. You go under it, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be sitting next to the coach real quick and go underneath that screen.
Simons had a bunch early. He's cooled off in the last several minutes until now. His second three of the first half. The Sun Belt Player of the Year, DeMarcus Simons.
How about Jordan Tyson, number 50, the big dude, gets the offensive rebound. What does he do? He gives it to his best player, DeMarcus Simons. That's smart play by a kid. Coming off the bench, finding a way to contribute.
Remember last night we asked Ron Hunter, said he's going to get more minutes because of the matchup with Arlington's bigs.
Yep.
Hervey answers 3 for 3.
When he gets going, watch out. One of the most talented offensive weapons in the country.
How big was his 3 against Texas State? Or they wouldn't have even made the top 4. They would have had to play 5 or 4 to win this tournament.
Yeah, and I saw him miss some shots against Texas State last year in the semifinals, so he made up for it.
Boy, rare mistake by the heady Kalen Wilson.
You know, I don't mind the pass, though. You got to have big dudes ready with their hands up, ready to catch the basketball.
5 turnovers for the Mavericks against the Georgia State zone. Simons so strong, he gets an and-one opportunity. 12 already in the first half for DeMarcus Simons, and he's looking at a 13th when we come back. It turns into 3-point answers, but here's Simons using that strength, and Georgia State in command.
At the line for Georgia State, DeMarcus Simons shooting 1.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. And Kentucky's annexed St. Louis and just taken that town over. But now the most intriguing game is Davidson, because that has such a ripple effect.
Yeah, Bruce Rasmussen last night, the chair of the selection committee, said, quote, well, we got the 68-team field, which we might lose one based on what happens in the Atlantic 10 game. That's as per the chairman of the selection committee. If Davidson wins, whoever that last team was that was in that bracket right now will come out of the bracket.
But not necessarily St. Bonaventure, but it could be.
No, it's not by conference. It could be any. Whoever that last team is, we'll find out.
Couple turnovers here now at Kevin Hervey, and the spacing now, 7-point lead here. 6 turnovers for the Mavericks.
The Georgia State zone has been the riddle so far that UT Arlington has not been able to solve.
Boy, big angle shot, and that's Isaiah Williams.
See what he did right there against the defense? I want to see UT Arlington do the same thing against Georgia State. Get to the mid-range, a 2-foot jump stop, and go up strong.
Neal attacks.
Over penetration to the big guy. They're open at 13, make the defense come up.
Okay, I want to ask you here, because we see some outstanding defensive teams. I think of Virginia. You mentioned Chris Beard. I saw it with Texas Tech. They're both pack line man teams. But how much is this Georgia State zone like a pack line man team like a Virginia?
Very similar in that they're going to run you off the 3-point line. They're going to take away passing lanes in the paint. That's what those teams can do better than that. They understand defensive angles and cover those angles. So you've got to stop at about 12 to 13 feet and then go up with your jump shot to make them come to you. Then you get the inside pass. Georgia State executing extremely well right now.
And Devin Mitchell with the 4th made 3 for the Panthers in the first half. It is an 8-0 run for Ron Hunter's team. They have their biggest lead of the first half at 12.
See how the ball stalls? Every time the ball stalls, that's advantage to Georgia State on defense. Step in, 2-foot jump stop. So he's floating. You got to be balanced right there.
You know, it's interesting. Georgia Southern got back in the game yesterday doing exactly what you were saying. That mid-range game of 12 to 14 feet. Once Georgia Southern started hitting those shots, they put pressure on Ron Hunter's team.
Yeah, if you take the bait and take it to the rim, there's big athletic guys on the back line that'll challenge every shot. And UT Arlington's guards are a little bit small to go up against him.
Hervey just with 5, but it's been Eric Neal, this guy that they've held in check. As we mentioned how explosive he is. He's the first player in Sun Belt history. And actually, only he and Devontae Graham of Kansas averaged 16.7 assists and 4 rebounds.
It's pretty good company, isn't it?
Yeah, but they've held him in check. He hasn't been able to do much yet at all. And here he comes. The Mavericks just won of the last 12.
I like that shot. I've got no problem with that shot. I'll take a 6'8" dude over a 6'2" dude in the mid-range every time against that zone.
Williams in attack. They're going to wave it off. Jordan Session, who's been living around the rim in this first half, a little too anxious with this one.
Now watch Jordan Session. See Kevin Hervey? He doesn't lay a body on him. Now it doesn't count. I get that. But it's the little things that win you championships. Could that cost them at the end of the game in a big-time situation, not laying a body on a guy?
And they got
nice.
And it's Wilson to get the badly needed bucket for UTA.
Yeah, no rotation on the backside. And UT Arlington now all 5 slap the floor, which is their indication they're ready to engage and play defense.
Led by Neal, who's become the leader of this team, and now a foul on Wilson.
This first personal is 16 foul. At the line for Georgia State.
A look at Neal trying to get the engine started here for UT Arlington. Into the line, Kane Williams. You're going to win 3 in 3 days. Your bench has got to help you, and Kane Williams needs to give good minutes to this team. His highest performance in a Sun Belt game this year for Kane Williams, a freshman from Douglasville, Georgia, against UTA in Arlington.
Had 9 points in that game in 14 minutes. He's a crafty passer.
Hey, tomorrow we're going to have the exclusive live announcement of the 64-team NCAA Women's Championship field at 7 Eastern on ESPN, and a bonus hour of coverage at 8 on ESPNU. We're going to hear from Maria Taylor, Rebecca Lobo, Andy Landers, Kara Lawson, Charlie Cream. Break down every team, every matchup in each region. The NCAA Women's Selection Special presented by Capital One, also streaming live on the ESPN app.
I have a basketball man crush on Rebecca Lobo. A basketball man. I think she is just a tremendous talent as a player. I really enjoyed watching her. And as an analyst, I think she's just tremendous.
Oh, Johnny Hamilton. And Hamilton was 6 big first half points for Georgia State.
My wife Judy's listening, I'm sure.
Well, the question here is, is anybody even going to challenge UConn? What are they, like 144-1?
We kind of asked that question last year, and obviously they were challenged, but I hear you. You're awfully good.
They come from Don Staley's South Carolina Gamecocks. This will be out of bounds, so a turnover by Georgia State. Only the 3rd for Georgia State.
This dude started playing basketball when he was 16 years old. He wanted to play soccer until he just got too big. I think it's worked out.
Yeah, it's like election night, waiting for the one state that can tilt the election. And that's that A-10 tournament, because that's going to have some aftershocks. So far in this game for UTA, see Neal and Hervey playing catch out front. And they find Johnny Hamilton a good decision underneath.
That's preparation. So Ron Hunter came out of a timeout yesterday with the 1-3-1 zone. Scott Cross knew it, and he knew the diagonal feed would be open to Hamilton. That is a well-designed play coming out of timeout by Scott Cross. That's a little bit of chess going on between the two coaches.
Scott, who's been at UTA since the mid-90s. You know who he took the place of Buzz Williams, now the head coach at Virginia Tech. Scott started as a GA, and Johnny Hamilton, who just got the dunk, of course, started his collegiate career at Virginia Tech.
And Jim Baker, the athletic director at UT Arlington, has done a great job of supporting UTA as Kevin Harvey knocks down the 3-ball from deep. He hit a shot like that to beat Texas State at Texas State just last week. He is fearless offensively, number 25 in blue for UT Arlington.
7-0 run for the Mavericks, and that shot might have changed their season if they win today. And in fact, prior to that point, Hervey and Neal had combined just 2 of 11 before that Hervey 3.
Great help by Hamilton.
Simons just stays right with it. DeMarcus Simons marked 15 in the first half for the player of the year.
See what I mean about the Sun Belt, Russell Westbrook? Just never gives up on a play, has a great motor, he outworks people. That's DeMarcus Simons, number 15 for Georgia State. Remember his name.
And Neal finally nails a three. 9 of 17 from 3 in the tournament. Eric Neal.
We got a basketball game now. The two best players for UT Arlington are heating up. Eric Neal, number 1, and Kevin Hervey, number 25 in the blue jerseys.
Neal didn't make the first team all Sun Belt, and he came in with a chip on his shoulder.
He really did. You could see it physically in him. Unselfish, big time pass.
Neal, once he gets the feel, look out. And Georgia State dodges 2 darts and a timeout. The use it or lose it by Ron Hunter.
Timeout. Ball by Georgia State. 30-second timeout.
Versus Georgia Southern yesterday, and then it became really interesting in the second half. Georgia State offensively, with the way that they play for Ron Hunter, I mentioned, he gives them freedom. So there's a lot of ebb and flow as to how they go offensively. This game will be determined by runs.
17-second differential.
UT Arlington now comes out in the zone, their own zone.
Better find shooters, though, because Georgia State's got 4 of them that can shoot it. Mitchell and Hamilton, his second block of the game. Hamilton had 7 blocks against Georgia State in the game in Atlanta.
I like the way Kevin Hervey and Eric Neal have been sharing the basketball the last couple possessions. They've been unselfish playing together. That's the jump shot you want coming off the screen. I love the shot.
It is halftime at the half.
So Scott Cross
33.
with a rally.
Under control, he doesn't get sped up, but when you give him an avenue, he's good enough to take it in the paint among the trees and finish as he gets leverage there. I love the way that big guard plays.
Hit the 2 early threes, and he's only 34% from out there, but the 2 early threes kind of set things up for him.
So Arlington comes out. They get Kevin Hervey wide open from 15 feet. It's just what we talked about at the end of half. Ran the same exact play. They got him in that gap. He missed the jump shot, but Scott Cross, he's obviously made that adjustment now to start ramping up the mid-range game with his best players.
Sun Belt Coach of the Year last year, Scott Cross. He said this game, though, is the pot of gold. Remember last year, they were a whisker away from going to Madison Square Garden in the NIT semifinals. They won at BYU. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
I said winning at BYU, it's like riding a unicycle in a hailstorm when you have to go play those guys. He put 105 points on them. Then they came back to beat Akron. They got ambushed in the quarterfinals. They were that close to going to New York. Now the pot of gold is setting in front of it.
You know, and after last season losing in the semifinals to Texas State, Danny Casper did a tremendous job of neutralizing Kevin Hervey in that game along with Eric Neal, and they've had to live with it for a year. And now here they are in the championship game after they knocked off the #1 seed in Louisiana.
Simons was hitting that shot in the first half.
Good ball movement.
And Johnny Hamilton, he has been the beast helper. That's 10 for Johnny Hamilton. He only averages 11 per game, but his size has been a factor.
That was the best offensive possession of the game for the Mavs of UT Arlington. And there's the answer right there from Devin Mitchell, who hit that big shot yesterday, just like it was drawn up, right, Mitch?
He thought there was 1 second on the shot clock after Ron Hunter had just spent all of his time out telling everybody, hey, we got 20 seconds, run clock.
With
run
23
clock.
seconds to go, just one run clock.
And then he puts it up and makes it.
I mean, falling out of bounds. Watch the spacing, watch the ball movement. Hervey gives it up to Neal. Good unselfish basketball. And there's the quick reversal pass from Hawkins. And then inside to Hamilton. You know, Hawkins is a guy we don't talk a lot about. He's a team guy, but that reversal pass, that quick snap pass is what allowed Hamilton to be wide open off the dribble drive. Good offense by UT Mavs.
And Hamilton having a heck of a game. Just 65% at the line. But again, arguably the best shot changer blocker in the Sun Belt. Also played at Jacksonville, Texas Community College. You mentioned earlier that a native of Trinidad, but he didn't really start playing basketball. He was a soccer player until late in the high school years.
Yeah, his father Tony played club basketball in Trinidad and Tobago. He was a soccer dude until he just got too big. Son, maybe I ought to think about basketball for a while. You know, can you see that soccer coach? Got a 7-footer out there. Heck of a goalie, though.
I was going to say, he's a keeper for me. Now Arlington can take the lead. UT Arlington down by 12.
Look at Hamilton run. It's a gazelle.
Off Hamilton, an air ball from Nathan Hawkins, the Nebraska transfer who has yet to score in the game. And he had a big shot yesterday to put him up 3 in their win over Louisiana, the regular season champions. The Raging Cajuns had a heck of a year. Coach Marlin's team. This will be a legal screen on Simons, his second foul.
And Mitch, you mentioned early on yesterday he fouled out of the game with 5 minutes to go. And that's a good call by the official. Simons was set for the screen and then leaned into it just to get the defensive player. Those are the fouls he can't have. And then he had a foul against Hervey on a 3-point shot. 2 bad fouls for DeMarcus Simons.
4 of his 5 fouls yesterday were offensive fouls. And he started the tournament with 2 offensive fouls real early in their quarterfinal game. Mavericks will keep it. And they're going to call a foul here late. Ben Levy's going to pick up the foul for Georgia State, and right now UT Arlington with the momentum.
Yeah, a little bit of a loose ball scrum right there, and Ben Levy gets called for the foul as Johnny Hamilton goes flying out of bounds.
Here's an issue. 14 fouls already on Georgia State, and we're at the 17:34 mark of the second half.
Was he explosive and strong? DeMarcus Simons.
He goes right at the shot blocker, Johnny Hamilton.
Watch what he does. He goes right to the sternum of the shot blocker. That's how you go after big dudes as Hamilton goes up, and Hamilton's jumping forward just enough for Simons to draw contact and get the foul. That's tough, Mitch.
3-point play. DeMarcus Simons, 18 in the game. And Ron Hunter's team needed it in the worst way.
I still like the high screen and the give up for the shot. It's good stuff.
But how many times does the missed corner 3 lead to a breakout, and now Simons is going right back to the line?
Especially if you're penetrating from the point, getting into the mid-range, you've got to be rotating back. And Simons is recognizing it every time. And Scott Cross right now has a little bit of an issue of stopping number 15. Or maybe a big issue with stopping number 15.
Simons missing that one. Actually, he was 0 for 6 at the line in the loss at Arlington to the Mavericks.
Mitch, he averaged more points per game than the coach's son. Now, when you're averaging more points per game than R.J. Hunter did playing for his dad, you know you've got the neon green light.
I don't think Ron minds it, though.
No, not at all.
He loves his son. Remember
he loves winning more.
Well, 3 years ago, that was really the story of that tournament. Was Ron and R.J. And after they were eliminated, and how about the shot blocker having his shot blocked by Jordan Session?
Yeah, he's got to dump that.
Georgia State is the best team in the Sun Belt in block shots, and Ben Levy gets his first 3 of the game, and all of a sudden a spurt for Georgia State.
Now, Ben Levy, he lifts this team up defensively, and they start making shot offensively. He's the emotional leader, number 2 for Georgia State. He's jacked right now.
7-0 run for the Panthers. And Neal's going to go to the line with the strong penetration. And Mitchell has picked up his 3rd foul. So one of the better 3-point shooters in the country is in foul trouble.
With good balance, good extension on the shot, and that emotion. I love the way this kid plays.
That's 4 fouls on Mitchell. So now he's in real trouble. And Ron Hunter's going to make a decision. 3 in the second half on Devin Mitchell.
Remember, Ron Hunter yesterday went with Simons in the second half. In and out. He fouled out with 5 minutes to go. So Mitchell will sit down, and Isaiah Williams comes in. Again, who's a really solid basketball player.
Well, he was the hero after Simons had fouled out.
Yep. He really took over offensively. Let's see if he takes over a little bit here and adds to the offensive repertoire of Georgia State. With nothing happening on this possession for Georgia State.
And Simon's strength, they're going to call a foul on DeMarcus Simons. That is his third foul. And Ron Hunter, you can find egg on his forehead right now. Did not like the call at all. Now his star is in foul trouble.
But the emotional leader of this basketball team, Malik Benlevy, knocks down that 3 ball. He can get that bench rolling. Oh, I love the dance.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin and Fonz. Tricky Coach McKillop. Tricky Coach McKillop. What a great dude. And they get in. But now all of a sudden, a lot of nervous folks around America.
Yeah, the quote from last night from Bruce Rasmussen, the chair of the selection committee, quote, well, we got a 68-team field, which we might lose one based on what happens with the Atlantic 10 game. Well, Bruce, it just happened, and your committee now is working on that as we speak. Will it be Middle Tennessee State with a 12-1 road record? Will it be Oklahoma with Trae Young and dynamic talent? Will it be Louisville, who had their best wins against Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame? Will it be Notre Dame? Will it be Syracuse, Texas, St. Mary's, Arizona State, Louisiana? Who's it going to be?
Well, I'm going to throw in a couple more. Oklahoma State now, and even Baylor out of the Big 12 are sitting there going, well, now what?
We know one team just fell out of the bracket.
Yep.
We know that for a fact. We don't know which team, and obviously we don't know who's in and who's out, but the drama builds throughout this Sunday afternoon, the end of the regular season in college basketball. My favorite day of the year.
Bruce Rasmussen, known him 25 years, great athletic director at Creighton and great for college sports. But how does this, let me ask you too, let me take this one step further. You just listed a lot of the schools that are now walking around the block 15 times waiting for the selection. But doesn't it also affect seeding? I mean, they've got a pretty good idea now. We're sitting here at 2:16 Central Time, how they're going to seed teams. Does this throw it off?
No, because Davidson would have gotten in as basically a 12, 13 seed, somewhere around there. And all these teams that are on the bubble right now, they're going to be 11, 12 seed. So no, it really doesn't change seeding much at all.
Nine-point lead for Georgia State, but the issue here with still 14:32 to go is Georgia State foul trouble. They've got one of the best three-point shooters in the country, Devin Mitchell, with 4. And the player of the year in this league, DeMarcus Simons, who's got 19 points in this game with 3. But they're getting some other guys to step up, and Jordan Session is near his season high as he's got 7.
From Isaiah Williams, he brings an understanding to this game, number 11 in white for Georgia State. I think they run better offense at times with him in the game.
Simons still out there with his 3 fouls.
That's a force.
And that's a force. And that's a force of a different kind, Johnny Hamilton.
A force of a different color? Is that what?
No, different kind. But he's been terrific around the rim, and he's been outstanding.
Johnny Hamilton to the line, shooting 2.
And now an 11-point lead for Georgia State. But that's 17 fouls mark now against Georgia State, and we got a long way to go. And the promo tonight, Cleveland and LA, as LeBron heads to take on Isaiah Thomas and the Lakers. That's tonight at 9 Eastern.
And you bring up LeBron James, and as we come down the stretch in the final 14 minutes of this game, will Kevin Hervey try to take the team on his back and do a LeBron James? Or will he share the basketball, see open people, make plays, get everybody involved? That's the big key for UT Arlington as they come down the stretch. These bunch of Mavs, these horses of a different color.
And they already in the bonus. So if they can drive at the guts of the Georgia State zone.
And they go with their own zone on this possession, trying to negate the dribble penetration ability of DeMarcus Simons. He gets into the grease anyway.
Ben Levy was setting in the corner, Mark. He was waiting on it. His second half three. And Georgia State has got its biggest lead of the game.
They go zone to try to keep Simons out of the paint. He buzzes right by him anyway.
And Ben Levy fouling. And Georgia State's fouls continue to mount.
Look, defenders right there. He drives through 3 of them, and Ben Levy is left wide open.
And I loved your analogy with him and Russell Westbrook. He's 4th. I'm going back to DeMarcus Simons, who delivered that pass. He's 4th in assists.
Yeah.
He's a scorer who'll give it up.
That's exactly right. He's a willing rebounder as well.
It's 6 a game. Now here's Neal trying to get UT Arlington alive. Good at the line at 77%. The first player in Sun Belt history. 1,400 points, 700 assists, 400 rebounds, and 200 steals. A 14-4 run for Georgia State.
But they know who their best player is, don't they? And Ben Levy feeds off of him. Number 2 is a good complementary player to DeMarcus Simons. UT Arlington back in zone again. Let's see if Simons can find another gap. Keep your eye on number 15 in white for Georgia State.
Georgia State, too, Ron Hunter's been able to run some clock and still get some late shot clock opportunities to go down.
What a pass. What a pass.
Ben Levy, leader,
winner.
Neal trying to bring his team back. And some good minutes from Jordan Tyson for Georgia State, the St. Bonaventure transfer.
Georgia State is putting on a clinic here in the second half. They've never been sped up. And they've made good, solid, fundamental plays, and they've really shared the basketball. But they know who their best player is, this dude. Smart.
Isaiah Williams will be going to the line. A senior who had to adjust his role on this team. We'll discuss it when we return.
ESPN exclusive
For Isaiah Williams and his teammates. In fact, Georgia State is only one of 5 teams in the country that have 3 players with 40 or more steals. Purdue, K-State, Nicholls State, Stephen F. Austin, who got the automatic bid again in the Southland. And this guy, Mark, Isaiah Williams, had to change his role, and it's made Georgia State a better team.
Isn't it amazing how many teams win championships when you have a special player like Isaiah Williams who sublimates his ego for the good of the team, comes off the bench, makes team plays. This is a good Georgia State basketball team.
Another block. It's been blocks, steals, and field goal defense for Georgia State. Williams was...
Watch how Isaiah Williams plays. It's never about him. It's always about the team and how he can make somebody else better. He only makes plays when he has to make plays for the good of the team. I love his selfless demeanor.
He was the Southern Conference Freshman of the Year when he was at Samford. Then he transferred here. He's had to yield to DeMarcus Simons and others. And yield is a good move when DeMarcus Simons uses all that power. He's got 21.
Somebody's got to step in and take a charge. He's got 3 fouls. He's driving to the basket. There's space to get taken away and take a charge.
And defensively, Georgia State is throwing a blanket on the Mavericks.
And they play zone. They're not full court pressing to get those steals. It's all out of their zone. They're so active. Active hands, active feet. Communication on the backside. They rotate perfectly.
How long are they in that zone, too? It kind of reminds me of John Chaney's Temple teams when they had long guys. Ran some time there. They have that luxury. Up by 17.
Watch DeMarcus Simons. Look at all the blue jerseys. There's Hervey right there. There's defenders right there. You've got to step in and take the charge. as defenders are in position. Julian Harris was the guy that there was a little bit of bump right there, but if he comes up aggressively, sets, that's a charge.
Neal's got to get going. Again, he had 20 in the first 10 minutes of this tournament, finished with 37. Right now, Eric Neal has 10.
Mitch, the R.J. Hunter team that beat Baylor was really good offensively, just hard to guard. Not nearly as good defensively as this team. Now, they were good, they were solid defensively, but this team has really impressed me over the last 2 days watching work that zone as Thomas knocks down the shot.
He had 19 against Troy in the quarterfinals, his best since January 11th, but right now Georgia State is feeling it. They are 9
at Lakeside Arena here in New Orleans, and Georgia Southern was only down 3 with 23 seconds to go when Devin Mitchell hoisted that 3 ball when he thought there was 1 second to go on the shot clock. Hamilton there with the deuce. Plus, UT Arlington has firepower. They can make a run here. You can't celebrate too early.
And a great job by Scott Cross out of the media timeout to get to Johnny Hamilton right at the rim. He's got 15 mark. He had 30 against Western Carolina earlier this year. Simon setting out right now with those 3 fouls, trying to buy some minutes for Ron Hunter.
Mitch, right as we went to that timeout, Georgia State was celebrating almost like they'd won this thing. And Ron Hunter brought them together and said, hey, wait a minute here. We still got 10 minutes to go. I mean, there were some pretty serious discussions going on to get his guys jacked to finish this thing.
I don't know where RJ's at right now, but if he, you know he's watching the game if he can. He's going, he'd be yelling at the video
exactly
going,
right.
Don't celebrate. Hawkins,
here we go.
First points of the game for Nathan Hawkins, the Nebraska transfer. 5 unanswered for UTA out of the media timeout.
It's all about stops now for the Mavs of UT Arlington.
And enough of Simon sitting. He got about a minute and a half or so. He's coming right back.
Yeah, he could rest during the selection show.
Ron's hoping to fall out of a chair watching that if he can hang on here. Williams, giant 3. He did it yesterday. The senior stepping up for Georgia State.
Yeah, he's a Viper. He is cold-blooded.
I'm not sure they're in this game if that kid wouldn't have made the shots yesterday against Georgia Southern. Hervey needs this. And that corner 3 has not been there today for Kevin Hervey, the second leading scorer in the Sun Belt, just with 9.
Well, and now Georgia State is really slowing the pace down, using clock, and it might be a little bit early for that. We'll see. But they're trying to spread the defense and wear the defense down. Good defense by UT Arlington. Door is open slightly.
Need this again. And this time Hawkins just 27% from 3, missing after hitting one from out there. The Mavericks from 3 are 4 of 21.
Now they're going to spread them and milk it again. DeMarcus Simon's getting a longer wait because the whistle isn't blowing. These guys aren't attacking till late. 5 on the shot clock.
But the Mavericks can't score on this end.
They've had good looks. Last 2 possessions, they've had good looks. Charge. Ball block. I guess I missed it.
Well, that's Jordan Sessions' second.
And a technical foul.
Wow, up 17 with an NCAA bid on the line. And Jordan Sessions will get the personal and the technical. And still 6:32 to go. We will sort this out when we come back, but Georgia State just opened the door for UTA.
Convention and Visitors Bureau. Now we've got Connor. Connor, say hi to everybody.
And then the blocking foul free throws next, and the ball will be live.
But a golden opportunity for the UT Arlington Mavericks to get back into the game. Hervey's really good at the line, 80% for the year. But now Scott Cross has the opening he needs. That and Ron Hunter's team is in foul trouble. Three of their big studs are in trouble here. Plus, UTA's in the double bonus all the way home here at 6:32.
Devin Mitchell was the guy that hit that big 3 ball yesterday with 20 seconds to go. And now this has turned into a 3-point play for UT Arlington. Get this thing down to 13 with a make here. Starts getting interesting.
Well, the worst thing you want with a 17-point lead is to sit there and watch the other team shoot, and the clock's not moving. So 4 points for the Mavericks off the personal and technical foul, and Eric Neal is back.
Mitch, we talked about how Georgia Southern, they pulled a Lazarus yesterday. UT Arlington can get back in this thing. I've seen this movie before, and it gets pretty exciting near the end. Good defense by Hervey. That's the best defense of the day from Kevin Hervey against DeMarcus Simons.
And that'll have scouts scribbling or on their tablet. Hamilton has already got a double-double.
And there's a foul right there.
But it's double bonus again all the way home, and Hamilton is going to the line. 7 double-doubles this year for Scott Cross. For the Virginia Tech transfer, Johnny Hamilton. 16 for Hamilton. Tonight at 7 Eastern, bracketology. Reese, Jay, Will, Jay, Bill, Seth, Dickie V, we brought them all in there. A host of our college hoop experts, complete breakdowns of each region. You too can join them. Sports Center starts us off at 5 Eastern on ESPN with the reveal of the NCAA men's field of 68 as the teams are announced in the field. Both are streaming live on the ESPN app, and with Davidson winning the A10 AQ, there's been a lot of trips around the block into the restroom right now for a lot of teams. They are waiting for the next couple of hours.
Yeah, somebody who was in the bracket at midnight last night is not in the bracket today right now.
Tickets already punched, and now we look at this to see who can make some noise. New Mexico State's been on my list all year.
Yeah,
Chris Jans' team. South Dakota State, Mike Dahm, he'll shoot you right out of a game.
Hey, listen, Zach Thomas from Bucknell as Mitchell knocks down a big 3-ball. I saw Bucknell against North Carolina at North Carolina earlier this year. Hey, there's a red light special for you right there. Watch out for the Bison of Bucknell.
I'll give you another one. The Loyola Chicago Ramblers. A team that won at Florida in Gainesville. And only a 5. They're 28-5.
You want one more while we're at it? How about, depending on matchup, the Marshall Thundering Herd led by John Elmore, who is open as soon as he comes across from Zanesville to Huntington.
What a run they had in the Conference USA.
That's in Ohio, by the way, if you didn't understand the reference there.
Here's Mitchell,
Kansas City guy.
But here's Mitchell. Whatever state you're in, that's impressive. As Mitchell's been setting a long time with the 4th foul. He comes in immediately and pops home the 3 when they need it the most.
Now, Devin Mitchell plays with a supreme amount of confidence. I mean, supreme. If you just saw that shot yesterday, it was a surprise shot, but it went in. It worked out.
The shot was, he thought there was 1 second on the shot clock. They had 20. Now Arlington fouls here, UT Arlington fouls, but they got fouls to give. So this may be under command of Scott Cross here, because they don't want to be sitting here with about 2 minutes to go and having fouled
But, you know, in this situation, it doesn't hurt you to trap as hard as you have to get the steal. You know, run another guy at him, and if they call a foul, they call a foul. If the official swallows the whistle, he swallows the whistle, no big deal. But I'd run a second defender and trap somebody trying to get that steal. You foul him, you foul him.
And Mitchell, instant offense.
Otherwise, they can run clock. And the clock's against you. You got to speed up that possession.
Mitchell at 25 against the Mavericks in Arlington. And Simons picks up his 4th foul. And he picks it up 30 feet from the basket.
That's where they've all been. All of them have been away from the basket.
And he's done that now in 3 tournament games. And yeah, you see Ron Hunter go, think, man, you're the player of the year in the league. You're up 14.
Yeah. Hard to tell from that angle if there was much contact or not, but Wilson sure sold it well.
But if there's trouble in the area, don't go to the thunderstorm, and that's what he did. And now Simons has got to figure this out. This happened yesterday.
So let's take a look at it. Let's see if there was contact. So we get a gazillion angles on it. Whoa.
Sold by Kalen Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a foul.
But why even chance it?
Now, you know what, though? He's got that motor.
Yeah.
He can't rev the motor down. And that's what I love about him. Sometimes people's greatest strengths are also their greatest weaknesses.
Well, Ron Hunter hopes those strengths are leading.
Unquestionably they can, as we saw Georgia State do it. And then Little Rock, you know, this is a tournament of coaching injuries. We saw Ron Hunter. The next year, Chris Beard, who wins with Little Rock, and they beat Purdue, by the way, in the NCAA tournament.
On when he fell off the stool, they beat Baylor. But he's got shoes on today. He's got those cool kicks on, but he doesn't always wear shoes.
Yeah, for over 10 years now, he's supported Samaritan's Feet, where he goes shoeless during a game to bring awareness, and they send shoes to Costa Rica, South Africa, the Dominican Republic. A guy that really understands how to give back, not just to the community, but to the world community. Hats off to Ron Hunter.
He wins this game. He'll walk barefoot maybe to the NCAA game.
Oh! DeMarcus Simons!
Shoes on, elevation into the dunk. And showing why he was indeed the Sun Belt Player of the Year.
Just listen. Wow.
The play of the tournament thus far. But now his teammate Devin Mitchell has fouled out. And we still have 3:36 to go. So the three-point shooter deluxe for the Panthers is gone.
Boy, the Russell Westbrook of the Sun Belt just exploded to the rim. He will be a handful for somebody to game plan against if they can hold this lead here with 3:36 to go.
That and their zone, because defensively they have been, that's been the second story of this game. Hamilton is keeping UT Arlington in the game. Mark, he's got 20 points and a double-double with 12 boards.
And now here comes full court pressure with big Johnny Hamilton as your double team guy. Look at the wingspan there.
You know what, if some NBA scouts are here looking at Herbie, they're going to go, well, who's Hamilton?
Yeah.
You know, and he's got, somebody's going to give him a look too, as agile as he is.
Yeah, he runs really well. He's got that wingspan. He needs to get bigger, stronger, but you know, he started playing when he was 16. What does the NBA look at? What's the ceiling? He's got a high ceiling.
Arlington defending the rim and the clock. Here they come, Neal. And he'll go to the line. Everybody holds their breath on the Georgia State bench. It's called an Isaiah Williams. Simons is out there with his 4 fouls. Yeah. And Mitchell's already gone.
And how many times has the clock stopped for Georgia State in the last 5 minutes of this basketball game? I mean, UT Arlington is going the line, scoring without the clock starting time and time again. It seems almost every possession.
Boy, Neal, he's missed 2 in this game, and he's normally around 80% at the line, shaking his head. It's a kid that wants to coach.
UT Arlington on the season shot under 70% from the free throw line, but in this tournament, they've been at 85, 86%.
But this is still doable. Facing the pot of gold, as Scott Cross called it. And both Isaiah and Kane Williams are in the game. So they foul Kane Williams, who's 71%, but he hasn't had that many attempts, the freshman.
It's only 16 fouls.
So they're still one away. But Kane may have the target on him. And again, not that he's a bad foul shooter, he just hasn't had a gob of attempts. They don't want to foul this guy. He's 88% at the line.
Well, now there's only 15 on the shot clock. You can't foul. You got to play out the possession. Here comes the trap.
And a foul with 5 seconds on the shot clock because Simons was headed to the rim again.
The Russell Westbrook over the Sun Belt. DeMarcus Simons. He takes what the defense gives him and on occasion takes a lot more. Going to the rim, right to the shot blocker's sternum. I love that look from DeMarcus Simons. And then the slam home. Man, has he been fun to watch in the Fun Belt.
And playing like a champion. He's had big games against the Mavericks this year. 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 steals in the win in Atlanta.
He dropped 29 points with 5 assists, 4 rebounds at Ole Miss earlier this year.
He's got 25 in this game. 2 giant points for Georgia State. Ron Hunter thought there might have been basket interference. But Hamilton gets credit for the tip, and he's got 22.
You can afford to play this defensive possession, but then it's going to be a foul fest after that. Got to make a stop here. Have any kind of chance.
Neal lurking. And Neal will go to the line. The best player in the league with 64 steals coming into the Sun Belt. Eric Neal just got the biggest one of the game so far.
And again, the clock stops. And UT Arlington lives to fight another possession.
And another Panther has 4 fouls. Jordan Session. Eric Neal is locked in as any player maybe in this league over the past 6 to 7 weeks. He was requesting to go in one-on-one with Scott Cross to watch video like a member of the coaching staff.
Yeah, after the loss to Louisiana Monroe, he had a meeting with Scott Cross, and Scott Cross basically handed the keys to the Ferrari. Said, you got to drive this thing. You got to lead this thing. You got to come in early. You got to work harder. You got to set the example, and he did.
But now Scott Cross is looking at an 11-point deficit and a 4th foul on Johnny Hamilton, who's been his best player today. And Ben Levy will go to the line for Georgia State. And now UT Arlington is hearing the clock ticking.
Now you can sense from the UT Arlington players, they know they're in deep stuff, but this thing is not over.
Hervey with the turnover, his 4th of the game, and he's had a very quiet game with just 12 and Mark only 3 in the second half. And Simons going to the line. Ron Hunter wanted an intentional call. He won't get it. But now Georgia State and Ron Hunter are trying to say, yep, 3 years ago, we were maybe the biggest story in the tournament, at least in the first weekend. Yep. And now they're going to get another chance, perhaps. The other part of all the visuals of their run was him after they were eliminated with RJ at the interview stand, and emotion overcame Ron when he realized he had coached RJ for the last time. And it's pretty cool to go back and watch all that.
So, Mitch, the last time Georgia State won the championship, of course, well documented. We showed it with Ron Hunter blew out his Achilles tendon. So for the net cutting ceremony, they had to bring the baskets down because they couldn't get him up on a ladder. So they brought it down to about 6 feet, and he cut down the nets that way.
The other side, you guys cut away too. I went back and watched that, and everybody's celebrating. And Ron's wife's in the stands going, wait a minute, my husband's down on the floor. I mean, for a moment, now we can joke about it. At the time, we didn't know what was going on, but Ron's up and running today, and he is feeling it. And Arlington is not fouling. UT Arlington, and it's going to be a shot clock violation. What a day for Georgia State. Ron Hunter's headed back to the show after 3 years away.
And congratulations to Louisiana. 27 regular season wins, the regular season champions, and now it appears Georgia State will be the Sun Belt tournament champions as the clock stops again and the door slightly cracked.
Slightly, but coach is feeling this one, and you know what? They had to scramble to win yesterday. You know, they got locked. They were in the second position. So Louisiana had a terrific regular season. It was fun to watch them all year. But Georgia State got locked in the second position for what, about 3 games? They couldn't move. And he said it really affected them. It kind of lost their focus.
Ron Hunter, you mentioned Ron Hunter being a successful coach at IUPUI, led them from the transformation from NAIA to Division I, and obviously the most successful coach at Georgia State. Look at this list. Jim Calhoun, as far as historic head coaches in 2 programs, Leonard Hamilton. That's a pretty good list right there.
Still some nervous moments for the Panthers as they got to call timeout to avoid the 5 count. But this list, going back to this list, he's out of the game right now. He's fouled out, so he can't screw this up.
I'm sure they're kidding him right now about it. Hey, Devin, don't shoot it on your sideline. Don't shoot it.
And don't foul. You don't get 6 or 7. And now UT Arlington will foul.
Mitch, that was one of the wildest plays I've seen as Devin Mitchell. There were 23 seconds to go, 20 seconds on the shot clock. They're up by 3, and Ron Hunter went through every guy, said, we're not going to shoot it, run this play. He had to repeat it back to him. Repeat it back to him. And what happens? This is what happens. Devin Mitchell catches and shoots it. And makes it.
What's Ron Hunter? The staff's going crazy. I told you Kane Williams would be a marked man at the line, but he has now shoved back with 2 made free throws and takes it back to 13. And Georgia State playing a offense-defense substitution now. And I tell you who I feel for is Eric Neal, the point guard of UT Arlington. Because he had his mission to get the Mavericks to the NCAA tournament.
Only one other player, Mitch, has averaged 16 points, over 7 assists and 4 rebounds a game, and that's Devon Graham of the Kansas Jayhawks. Devontae Graham, excuse me.
But it is Georgia State's time again. And the Atlanta-based campus and Ron Hunter and the Panthers. We know the committee's watching. He's back, and he's upright this time. Ron Hunter and the Georgia State Panthers. And don't think this is an anomaly. This will be their 24th win. And they've won 20 or more games in 5 of the last 7 years. Georgia State is a factor.
I don't want Ron Hunter jumping up too high in this celebration. Congratulations, Georgia State. You've earned it against a really good UT Arlington basketball team. And Scott Cross got to the championship game this year. Didn't work out, but a great run.
The Sun Belt champions, the Georgia State Panthers and Ron Hunter. Is there a sequel to the movie of 2015? You have a ticket to go to the 2018 show. Fourth time in the NCAA tournament. And Mark, the question is, can they win in the NCAA tournament? And what a moment for these guys.
Georgia State did it before as they knocked